Alright guys, today's video is going to be on how to retape your pallets using pallet tape, and what are the benefits of using pallet tape versus just cleaning your pallets. As you can see here, my pallets here are pretty dirty, have a lot of t-shirt lint on them. This is over a few months of heavy use. As you can see, like the tops and the bottom have a lot of lint. The benefits of using your pallet tape is gonna be it's a lot quicker, a lot easier to do versus using like a cleaning solution. You're gonna have to use like a bunch of rags. You're gonna have to use like a paint scraper type thing. You're gonna have to let that solution sit. On top of that, the solution can get pretty pricey. Depends on where you buy it from. Also, if you have to screen some shirts, you're gonna have to wait a good half an hour before you can use your pallets. I mean, you can definitely do it right after you clean them, but the thing is, there's still like a little bit of moisture on your pallet. And that adhesion is not gonna adhere very well, the spray tack. So when you're using your pallet tape, all you're gonna do is, you see right there, it got a big old piece of lint in there. But all you're gonna do is you're just gonna peel it off. You're just gonna peel that pallet tape off, and you're gonna put new pallet tape right over that. All pallet tape is just gonna be your basic vinyl backing, your decal backing. A lot of companies, what I started to see over time, they're just repackaging that as pallet tape, like specially formulated, which is basically just a retail marketing promotion type thing, which it's just basic decal backing. So they're gonna upcharge for that, just saying it's it's a specially formulated pallet tape, but it's not. A roll of pallet tape, I believe it's 100 yards, is gonna run about I think I paid like $75 for the roll of pallet tape. As you can see here, I'm starting to peel the pallet tape back, and I'd like to mention, when you're going to use pallet tape, you're going to want to use it on a brand new pallet. You're going to kind of defeat the purpose if you use it on a pallet that is dirty, or a pallet that you're gonna clean. If it's going on a pallet that you're cleaning, you're still gonna get a lot of lint and stuff like that, debris. So it's not gonna adhere correctly. I mean, it'll probably still work, but you're gonna start getting from the corners of that pallet tape peeling up. But as you can see here, you can see the half that I already peeled up. Right there, I'm just showing you that you're just gonna want to go straight back, because if you go in a rocking motion, it's gonna move your pallet. It's gonna kind of twist it a little bit. So now your registration is gonna be off when you go back and you try to screen. As you can see right there, I left that little piece on the flash dryer for a little bit too long, and it kind of got burned up a little bit. It raised the pallet a little bit. It kind of like got a little bit embossed, a little bit higher. So I got to change this pallet in the near future. The only good thing about that is that's not a real printing area over in the corner over there, so it's not a big deal. But as you can see here, this is a brand new pallet. It's not a brand new pallet, it's clean. As soon as I made this pallet, it's a custom pallet that I made, I started using pallet tape. But look at the difference between with the pallet tape and without. A good reason to constantly keep your pallets clean or to retape it is that adhesion. Once they start getting all gunky like that, you're gonna find yourself using a lot more spray tack, because you're gonna find that once you go and you try to screen your image, you're gonna lift your screen, and that the shirt is gonna kind of lift with the image a little bit more. You're gonna get less adhesion, which you don't want. So as you see, here's my pallet tape, and all I'm doing is just measuring it to the pallet. Pretty straightforward. Another thing I'd like to mention is you're gonna want to use a clean blade, a brand new blade. Whether it's an X-Acto knife, whether it's just a utility blade, use a clean one. Use a brand new one. If you don't use a new one, you're gonna find that when you go to cut your pallet tape, like when you go to cut the edges and everything, you're gonna get a lot of nicks, and those nicks turn into lifting in the shirt, because those nicks, you're gonna pull the shirt up and it's gonna get caught over time, and it's just gonna kind of start lifting the pallet tape, and that's gonna defeat the purpose. Now you're gonna have to go and repallet that. So as you can see, the pallets I have here, this is over, I want to say, a good 3-4 months of usage, which is like I want to say a few thousand shirts. Yeah, all I'm doing here, what you have to do is you're gonna have to, even though the backing on the tape, it is sticky, it does have tack, you're gonna want to put your spray tack on the pallet itself, just to make sure you have a good adhesion. All I'm using here is just my decal squeegee. You're gonna want to go from in to out, just as you're applying a decal. Okay. I have my fresh clean blade there. Just clean that up, get that all going, and then you're gonna want to take your blade and just go from the corners, just kind of a little bit of an angle to where you're just hitting perfectly. You're just hitting flush the side of the pallet. And if you have any little, see that if I didn't have a clean blade, I wouldn't be able to hit the, go back and hit the corners if anything were to stay there. See right there, I'm just giving it a good clean cut. Yeah, what you don't want are any nicks or anything like that, like I said, because it's gonna come up on you. It's gonna end up coming up on you. See, so right there, you're gonna want to kind of just make sure that you don't have any nicks, any little debris, anything like that under the pallet, because that's the last thing you're gonna want, is that lifting on you. So right here, just cutting it up. See, this is gonna be a lot easier, like I said, versus cleaning the pallet. Right here, I'd be putting that cleaning solution on there. I'd be letting, giving it a few minutes, getting a rag, wiping it down, making a big old mess for no reason, hitting it with the paint scraper, getting another rag, taking that stuff off. And another thing I like to mention, if you notice my pallets is just like MDF board. The pallets that came with this press were the original pallets, which are like the ones that have like kind of like a neck, they kind of go in and have like a neck to them. It's not straight like you see the top of this pallet here. And I didn't like that too much because, for one, they were small. They were the adult pallets. They weren't the the kids pallets. They were the adult pallets, but they were small. On top of that, the registration was terrible, just for the fact that the lines weren't straight. So when you loaded the shirt on there, you didn't know where you were straight. You couldn't see the seam. It was just kind of crazy. Like, it was like it tapered off, it rounded off. It wasn't just like square the way it is here. So I made these pallets. As you can see here, I'm showing you the difference. Look at all that gunked up stuff on there. But like I was saying, I made these pallets. So if you try to use like a cleaning solution, right? You're gonna use a cleaning solution without the there's a little layer that goes right on top, like a kind of like a white paneling type thing. If you try to use it on just this right here, where the pallet is porous, so it's gonna kind of soak in. It's gonna soak into your pallet, and it's gonna it's gonna mess it up, you know. So it's something I wouldn't recommend on like an aftermarket type pallet. So this is the perfect thing. As you can see, I'm just kind of fast forwarding it a little bit here. I'm just gonna let it play for a minute. And as you can see, when you spray your spray tack, you don't want to spray it right in front of you. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is, you know, I'm moving that pallet a little bit away from me, and I'm spraying it kind of off to the side. And the reason is because you don't want all that aerosol, you know, lingering in your face. You know, it's off to the side. You know, you're still gonna get it, but not as much as, you know, if you're spraying it right in your face. So that's just another little trick to remember. What you would think is, you know, pretty obvious, but I mean, sometimes you don't even think about it. So right there, I just sprayed it right in front of my face. Sometimes when, you know, you're trying to go fast, you know, you're not really thinking about that stuff. And you're gonna notice the first few shirts you do, you know, on each pallet, it's not gonna have that adhesion, because you don't have all that, you know, that spray tack buildup. Plus, you don't have anything for the shirt to stick onto. What I mean by that is, you know, over time you start getting all the little lint from the t-shirt, so it kind of stays on the pallet. So now when you throw your shirt on there, you know, just a little bit of that lint is gonna make that pallet a lot more tacky, so it's gonna hold down a lot better. But again, once you get to this point of you know, of all the lint and all, you know, the shirt debris and all that stuff, that it doesn't stick anymore. Plus, it seems your pallet gets a lot hotter when you put it under your flash dryer. But yeah, I noticed that. So, you know, with a brand new pallet, it's just like, you know, your screen stays cooler. Not your screen, your pallet stays a lot cooler. As you can see right there, when I moved it back, my pallet moved. So once I'm done here, what I had to do was I had to measure my pallets again to make sure every single one was correct and held registration correctly. Because if one pallet's off, that's gonna mess you all up, especially if that pallet's the one that you're using to register your screens. So if one pallet's off and you use that one to measure your screens, to register your screens, when you do the 3 other pallets, those are going to be crooked. So you got to make sure everything is square. So when that one moved, now I got to go back, and it's going to be a time waster. One key to the print game, what I want to say, is time management. If you can eliminate a step, you can eliminate 2 steps. Whatever it is, you know, take off 5 minutes here, take off 10 minutes there, that adds up in the end. And what that adds up to is, you know, you can take more jobs now because you're wasting less time. As you can, you know, notice in all the videos I do, I talk about time, about wasting time. You don't want to waste time, just because a lot of times what happens is I have to turn away jobs because, you know, I just have so much work. And you might be thinking, well, I mean, you can work at night. Well, I already do work at night. You know, I work you know, from 8, 9 o'clock all the way to, you know, 11, 12. And that burns you out over time. Imagine doing that for years on end. I mean, it really, you know, it takes a toll on you. So I try to, you know, save time wherever I can, to, you know, take in more jobs and turn, you know, bring in more money. So that's one thing you're going to want to think about. So that's the video, guys. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.